I never used to worry about running at night. I work long hours at a restaurant, so by the time I get home, the sun's usually down. My neighborhood's quiet old houses, well-kept lawns, dogs that bark behind fences. Safe, or it used to feel that way. About 3 weeks ago, I started jogging again. Just a few miles around 9 p.m., enough to get my head clear. I'd take the same route each time, down Ridgeway Avenue, around the park, and back. I had my earbuds in, music loud enough to drown out my thoughts. It was Wednesday when it first happened. I just passed the old brick church near Elm Street when I felt something. Not heard, felt. A kind of pressure behind me, like someone watching. I turned, but no one was there. Just empty sidewalk and yellow streetlights stretching into the dark. I brushed it off. Maybe I was tired, but the next night I noticed it again. The same feeling, stronger. This time, I took my earbuds out and listened. Nothing but my own breath and the scuff of my shoes. I told myself it was paranoia. Still, I cut the run short and jogged straight home. The third night, I left the earbuds behind. I told myself I'd run without distractions. That way, I'd know if someone was actually there. I kept a slow pace, paying attention to every sound, sprinklers, a dog barking, wind through the trees. Then I heard footsteps not far behind. I stopped suddenly. So did the steps. I turned around fast. No one, not even a shadow. My skin prickled. I waited a few seconds, staring down the street, my breath loud in the stillness. Then I ran. Not full sprint, but faster than I should have for that point in the run. When I got home, I locked the door and checked every window. I didn't jog the next night, or the one after, but after 5 days I started to feel stupid. Maybe it was just an echo, or my imagination. So the following Monday, I went out again. Same route, same time. Everything was fine until I passed the park. That's when I saw him. Just ahead, under one of the dim streetlights, a man stood on the corner. Thin build, hands in his pockets, looking at the ground. I slowed down, trying not to stare. He wasn't moving. Didn't even glance up. As I passed, I felt it again, that sharp crawling sensation between my shoulder blades. After a block, I turned to look back. He was walking now, slowly. In my direction. I picked up the pace, trying to tell myself he was just going the same way. But the faster I jogged, the faster he seemed to get. His footsteps were steady, not running, just determined. I turned right at Monroe instead of going straight, trying to lose him. At the next intersection, I risked a glance over my shoulder. He was still there. I don't know how he kept up like that without running. I turned again. Random streets now, weaving through unfamiliar blocks. I didn't care where I was going. I just wanted to lose him. When I finally reached my street, I was drenched in sweat. My chest hurt from the run. I looked back one last time before going up the steps. Empty road. I locked the door behind me and sat in the dark, listening. I didn't sleep that night. Over the next week, I didn't go jogging. I didn't go outside after dark at all. But every night, around 9 p.m., I'd look out the window, just in case. Then last Friday, I saw him again. He was across the street, standing perfectly still between two parked cars. Just watching my house. I didn't call the police. What would I say? That some guy followed me one night and now he's standing outside? It wasn't illegal. Not really. I turned off the lights and sat on the floor until morning. I haven't seen him since. Not during the day. Not at night, but I can't go back out there. Not anymore. Sometimes I think about going to a different city, changing my name. But the worst part isn't wondering who he is, It's wondering why he picked me, and whether he's still out there, waiting. I'd only been living in the duplex for 2 months when it started. It was a quiet neighborhood, mostly older folks and a few students from the college nearby. The rent was cheap, the landlord was hands-off, and the place was clean enough. My unit was on the ground floor. Below me, there was a basement apartment that had been empty since I moved in. The landlord said the last tenant left in a hurry and hadn't been replaced. That was fine by me. No downstairs neighbors meant no late-night noise. The first time I noticed the light, it was around 11 p.m. on a Sunday. I was washing dishes and glanced out the kitchen window, which overlooked the small backyard and basement-level windows. One of them, the far left one, was glowing faintly yellow. I paused. I hadn't seen a light on down there before. I figured maybe the landlord had finally found someone to rent it. But I hadn't heard any moving noises, no furniture scraping. No footsteps, nothing. I stood there a minute longer, watching. The light didn't flicker. It didn't move. Just stayed there, steady and low. The next day I called the landlord. Asked if anyone had moved into the basement. He paused. No, not yet. I haven't even shown it to anyone in weeks. Why? I didn't tell him about the light. I just said I thought I heard someone moving around. That night, the light was on again. Same window. Same dull yellow glow. I went outside, walked across the backyard, and stood near the window. It was dirty years of grime and leaves clinging to the corners. I couldn't see much through the glass. Just that faint light inside, like from a small lamp or a low-watt bulb. I waited. I listened. No sound. I knocked on the window. Nothing. Walked back inside, trying to convince myself it was a wiring issue. Maybe the light was on a timer. Maybe someone had left it on accidentally when they moved out. The next night, it was off, and I felt stupid for worrying. But then it came back, a week later. Same window. Same light. Only this time there was a shadow. Not moving. Just there. Something partially blocking the light from inside. I stared at it for maybe 5 minutes straight, frozen. I kept telling myself it was a box or furniture, but my stomach knew better. It was shaped like a person. I went outside again, slower this time. My heart was pounding. I knelt by the window, holding my breath. Tried to peer through the grime. Nothing. Just the light. And then it turned. Off. Click. Total darkness. I ran inside. The next morning I called the landlord again, more firmly this time. Told him someone might be squatting down there. He sighed and said he'd swing by the next day to check. When he showed up, I watched from the window as he unlocked the basement door and went inside. He was down there a good 20 minutes. When he came back out, I met him at the front porch. Nothing, he said. Empty, dusty, dead light bulb in the fixture. I stared at him. Which fixture? He shrugged. Only one in that room. Ceiling light. Didn't work when I flipped the switch. I wanted to push him, make him believe me, but I could see it on his face. He thought I was being dramatic. Or bored. Maybe both. I stopped calling him after that, but I didn't stop. Seeing the light, sometimes it would be off for days. Then one night, I'd glance outside and there it was. Same glow. Same window. One night around 2 a.m., I woke up thirsty and walked to the kitchen. As I was filling my glass, I glanced out the window. The light was on, but this time, the shadow was closer, right up against the window. I dropped the glass. It shattered on the floor. I backed away from the sink, heart racing. I didn't go outside. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I crept outside with a flashlight and looked at the basement window. Nothing. No shadow. No light. Just a dusty pane of glass with old streaks on the inside. Only. One thing was different. This time the grime had been wiped away. Just a small, perfect circle. Like someone had pressed their eye against the glass, watching me. I was driving home from my sister's wedding. It was around midnight, and I still had 2 hours left on the road. My phone had died earlier. I forgot my charger, and I'd already had 2 gas station coffees that tasted like burnt plastic. I wasn't tired, exactly. Just wired and numb. The kind of exhausted where your thoughts feel like static. I'd taken the back route, the state highway that winds through hills and woods. It was dark, barely any cars. Just me and the white lines flashing under my headlights. That's when I saw the sign, rest area, 1 mile. I don't normally stop that late, but I figured I'd stretch my legs, use the bathroom, splash some water on my face. There wasn't another stop for 60 miles. The rest area came into view. Suddenly a small loop off the highway with a few parking spots, a picnic table, and a squat brick building that housed the bathrooms. One overhead light flickered near the entrance, casting shadows across the empty lot. I pulled in, turned off the engine, and sat for a minute. The silence was thick, almost physical. There were no other cars. I got out and walked toward the building. The door creaked as I opened it. Inside, it was colder than I expected. The air smelled like bleach and old tile. Harsh fluorescent lights buzzed above. I was the only one there. I did my business quickly. As I washed my hands, I stared at myself. In the mirror, my reflection looked off somehow, like it was delayed by a fraction of a second. I chalked it up to exhaustion. I turned off the faucet and froze. Footsteps. Not mine. Somewhere behind me. Slow and deliberate. I spun around. The hallway outside was empty. I stood there for a moment, listening. I couldn't hear anything. But I knew what I'd heard. I dried my hands and stepped into the hallway. Still empty. I walked toward the exit, suddenly eager to get back on the road. That's when I saw the shoe. Just one. A men's running shoe, old and dirty, sitting by the entrance. I hadn't seen it when I came in. I stepped around it and pushed open the door. My car was gone. I blinked. I was parked right in front, close to the building. Now the spot was empty. For a second, I thought maybe I was on the wrong side of the rest stop. I turned around and looked for another exit. There wasn't one. It was a single-door building, and I had definitely pulled up right there. I walked into the parking lot, turning in a slow circle. No cars. No people. Just me. And then I heard the engine. Far off, but definitely. My car. I ran back toward the road, heart pounding. As I reached the edge of the parking lot, I saw headlights flashing between the trees. My car pulling away. Someone was driving it. I shouted, waving my arms, but the trees swallowed the sound. The red taillights disappeared down the highway. My phone was still inside. My wallet, too. I was completely alone. I walked back to the building, hoping maybe there was an emergency phone. There wasn't, just a cracked bulletin board with faded maps and a sign that said nitrogen monoxide camping after dark. I sat on the concrete bench by the entrance and waited. 1 hour. Then 2. No cars passed by. Not even a trucker. At some point, I must have dozed off. I woke up shivering. It was still dark, but now there was another car, not mine, a beat-up sedan parked where I had been. Its engine was off. No lights. I hadn't heard it arrive. I stood slowly. The driver's door opened. A man got out. Tall, thin, wearing a jacket. That looked too heavy for summer. He shut the door gently, almost silently, and turned to look at me. We stood staring at each other. He smiled. Long night? He said. I nodded, unsure what else to do. Me too, he said. Then he walked past me into the bathroom without another word. I wanted to ask him for help. Asked to borrow his phone. But something about him made my throat tighten. Like my body knew better than my brain. He was in there a long time, 10 minutes. Maybe more. I walked over to his car, thinking maybe I could see a phone or something useful. Inside, the windows were foggy, but I could make out two things: a black duffel bag in the back seat, and my phone. Sitting in the cup holder, my blood turned cold. He had my phone. I turned and ran, not back into the bathroom, into the woods behind the rest area. Branches slapped my arms and face, but I didn't stop. I ran until I couldn't see the building anymore, until the only sound was my own breathing and the wind in the trees. I stayed hidden until sunrise. When I finally crept back, the parking lot was empty again. My phone, the man, the car, all gone. I flagged down a delivery truck around 6 a.m. and got to a police station an hour later. I filed a report, told them everything. They looked at me like I was making it up. Later, I found out there used to be cameras at that rest stop, but they'd been vandalized months ago. No footage. No evidence. No car ever found. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I'd stayed, if I'd trusted that smile, what would have happened, or what was in the duffel bag. I still go on long drives sometimes, but I don't stop anymore. Not at night. Not anywhere.